VPOC, welcome back to another video. In this one, we'll be going through the top 5 things to never ever put inside your blender. So in front of you, we have a Ramton's RM579 blender, which we did a review of a few videos back. So if you're interested in that, I will leave a link down in the description below to that video. And so far it's been performing very well. There have been no issues whatsoever. And I know once you buy any type of appliance, the next thing is getting as much service from it as possible. So today I'll just take you guys through some of the worst things that you can ever put inside your blender. If you can avoid ever putting these things inside the blender, you will definitely guarantee yourself a very long time using that specific blender. And without wasting any more time, let us begin. When I say the blender, I will be referring to this jug. So this is what I'm calling the blender. Here we have this other smaller one, and this is called the mill. So the top 5 things never to put in this big jug over here. Number 1 is very hot liquids. Now the thing with very hot liquids is if you put them inside and you start using the blender, that creates steam. That steam will build up inside the jug, and the moment you attempt to open, or even just as you're blending, that hot liquid might explode, ikuchome, it burns you, or it burns somebody around you. So don't put very hot liquids inside of the blender. The second thing to avoid putting inside of your blender is potatoes. Now, I know a lot of people like making mashed potatoes. Do not attempt to make mashed potatoes and the likes with your blender. That will not go very well. And even a raw potato, don't even try to blend it. Most likely it will just damage the blades of the blender, or if it doesn't damage them, it will just make them blunt. So it's not a good idea to attempt to put potatoes inside of a blender. The third thing that you should not put inside of a blender is frozen food. Frozen food, here the likes of meat. If you have any frozen type of meat, please don't put it inside of the blender. When it comes to ice cubes, some blenders can blend ice cubes, others can't. Just refer to the instruction manual of your specific blender to confirm with the manufacturer if it can actually blend ice. But one suggestion is, if you're blending any type of solid with a blender, don't put that solid alone. The blender needs liquid to work, ideally in form of water, because if you put any solid alone inside of the blender, which is this big jug, that will most likely lead to the blades getting damaged or possibly getting dull. The fourth thing that you should not put into a blender is, and I have some here, we have here nuts. So using njugu, peanuts, you can put them inside of the mill and use this smaller mill here. You can use this smaller mill here to grind now the solid items that you have. But when it comes to the jug here, this jug you cannot put peanuts, beans, popcorn, or just any type of solid. Please just don't put it inside of the blender. That also goes for bones. Fish, you might get away with fish, but again, I don't know why you'll be wanting to blend fish. So any type of bones, beans, peanuts and the likes, do not put inside of the blender. The last thing, number 5, that you should never ever put inside of a blender is this, the likes of garlic, ginger, or even chilies and all that. Do not put those inside of the blender. The main issues with these foods that have a very strong smell is they are likely to leave traces of their flavor and their taste within the blender. Cleaning the blender and completely removing that smell and that flavor of the specific food that you put inside the blender will be quite hard. So when you come to use the blender again and try and make like a smoothie or something, you'll always feel that taste of that strong spice that you put inside of the blender. So don't put the akina garlic and the likes inside of the blender. So if you can avoid putting these 5 things inside of your blender, I can guarantee that your blender will last for quite some time and you will not have any issues. Extra hot liquids, they might explode and burn you. Potatoes, they'll just clog up the blades of the blender. Large particles of frozen foods, you can use ice cubes as long as you add liquids, and preferably use small ice cubes, not big chunks. Bones, beans, peanuts, any type of dried nuts or even dried fruits, do not put those inside of the blender. And also, lastly, strong smelling food, that is the likes of garlic, ginger, chili pepper. If you put them inside of the blender, the flavor will linger for quite some time, and anything you come and blend after will have the risk of having that specific flavor in it. Thank you guys for watching. If you have any questions or comments, just leave them down in the description below. I'll get back to them. Otherwise, like the video and subscribe, and I will catch you guys next week in the next one. Bye for now.